What is going on, people? TripleM back again with another video. It's daily dose of football content, and today I've got a very short and sweet video for you guys discussing the magnificent game yesterday evening between Germany and England. Now, I say magnificent, I'm a neutral, so to me, it was an absolutely delightful game of football to watch. But for German fans and English fans, they'll probably both be very frustrated with that result because it was just one of those games where both teams had a lead with 20 minutes to go, and somehow both teams bottled it. It really is genuinely surprising and perplexing as to how neither team was able to walk away with the 3 points there. Now, let's start and talk about Germany, then we'll talk about England in a moment, because I thought Germany were very underwhelming yesterday evening. I thought, apart from that sort of spell between the 60th minute and the 70th minute where it looked like they were in control of the game and they were 2-0 up, they weren't that great. And I think the biggest problem with Germany is their attack. I think the defense was okay, not great, but okay. I thought Ter Stegen was excellent. Ter Stegen kept them in the game for large periods of that game. I thought the midfield of Kimmich and Gundogan was chef's kiss, right? It wasn't a perfect performance by them, but they were very principled. They were very disciplined. They stuck to the fundamentals. You know what pisses me off about double pivots when I watch double pivots that don't operate correctly as a football fan and as a football nerd is when I see someone drop deep to come and receive the ball and then his teammate drops as well. It's like, bro, what are you doing? If your teammate in a double pivot drops deep and is expecting the ball on the half turn, you should be around the corner giving him a passing option so that you guys can build up and it's fluid and the ball progresses up the field nicely. That's how build-up play works. And Kimmich and Gundogan did that so perfectly yesterday. There wasn't a moment that I remember from the game where they were both out of position, right? It's almost as if when one dropped deep, the other knew and they were around the corner. Their communication is almost telepathic. It's scary. So I think Germany have a decent midfield pivot to build on, but Gundogan and Kimmich can't do it alone. They can't do it alone. They need a number 10 in front of them, or they need an 8 in front of them who can progress the ball up the field. And speaking of which, Musiala, the young teenager who was playing in that position for most of the game, drifted out wide a couple of times, had a few moments, had a few bright sparks, dribbled past a couple of England players. He looks like a very good player. He looks like a very talented player with a lot of potential. But you can still tell that a lot of that talent is raw. And yesterday, you could tell he just wasn't a finished article. I think only Kai Havertz had a decent game for Germany up front, which is crazy to say because he hasn't been that great for Chelsea since scoring that UCL goal. But today, or yesterday evening rather, he showed why Kai Havertz cost the amount of money he did when he got to Chelsea. Because that goal that he scored, it's not easy. It's not easy. Both these goals were very good, but the goal that he scored when he, like from outside the box, when he was outside the box, that goal is not easy to score. That goal takes a lot of technique. That goal takes somebody who clearly has the ability to do it at that level. And so I'm happy for Kai Havertz. You know, he's somebody who struggled. Obviously, I don't want to see him doing well for Chelsea, but for Germany, it's a different story, man. International football is a different story. Hoffman and Sane, they didn't have great games either. I thought there was a lack of cohesion there. I thought they looked like strangers on the park, to be honest with you. They were misplacing passes, misplacing runs. It was just all over the show. It seemed like Germany, every time they had a good thing going, they just couldn't get that final ball correct. It was either behind the striker, too ahead of the striker, the ball was too quick, or too slow. It, like, you know what I mean? Like, there was no synergy. Everything was just slightly off with Germany, and it looked like it was a group of strangers playing up front. And bear in mind, Germany are missing Antonio Rudiger, they're missing Manuel Neuer, they're missing Thomas Müller, and who was the other player who was injured for Germany? Let me just check. I believe it was Leon Goretzka. Goretzka, Neuer, Rudiger, and Julian Brandt actually were the players who were missing for Germany. And Thomas Müller didn't start. He wasn't missing. He wasn't injured or anything. He didn't start. So Thomas Müller, Gnabry didn't start, and a couple of other players didn't start. But those players I just mentioned, they were injured. So Germany were playing with the second string team here. So I'm really surprised that England weren't able to capitalize. And let's talk about England, because I tell you what, I look at this England team, right? You've got Harry Kane, you've got Raheem Sterling, you've got Phil Foden in the attack. Then you've got a midfield 2 of Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. I don't know why I decided to go with a midfield 2. Personally, I think a midfield 3 is better, especially when you're playing against Germany, who is a team that likes to control the ball and did control the ball for parts of the first half. In fact, I think they had the most of the possession in the first half. I think there was a point in the game where Germany had 70% of the possession. And then England, after going 1-0 down or 2-0 down, that's when they really started to take the game by the scruff of the neck, which is confusing. Why didn't they just do that from the beginning? This pragmatic approach from Southgate is genuinely confusing. But anyways, you've got Luke Shaw in that team, you've got Reece James, you've got John Stones, you've got Eric Dyer, you've got Nick Pope. For me, that team is good enough to beat Germany. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, Harry Maguire shouldn't be in that team. Luke Shaw, arguably as well, shouldn't be in that team. Even though he had a decent performance, he shouldn't be in that team. If we're being honest, he isn't starting games for Manchester United, but that's only 2 players. The rest of that starting 11, 9 out of the 11 players in that starting 11 should be beating a German team that has a new manager and has a complete lack of identity, in my personal opinion. I think England have all the tools at their disposal to be beating teams like Germany in the context of the form that Germany are in at the moment. And I just don't understand for the life of me why Southgate continues to stick with favourites, why Southgate continues to pick people who are not starting for their football clubs and are not in great form. You had Harry Kane coming out after the game praising Harry Maguire for playing through injury, saying that he's got a good character. And this is the thing. This is the thing. I am not denying that Harry Maguire has a great character. I'm not denying that Harry Maguire isn't willing to run through brick walls for his manager. I'm not denying that he's probably a nice guy. Who knows? He's probably one of the greatest guys you've ever met if you know him in person. But who cares? Who cares? If you're not winning football games, who cares about your character? It's competitive men's football at the elite level. It's about winning. It's not about participation trophies and being a nice guy and putting on a smile for the cameras. It's about winning. When will people get that into their thick skulls? So I don't get it. I genuinely don't get how this guy continues to start games. It baffles me. It baffles me. And I don't even want to talk about his mistakes because it's going to come across as if I have an agenda. Just a few days ago, I made a video talking about how people, over sensationalize Maguire's mistakes. So I'm not going to do that today. But he was at fault for both of the goals. And he hasn't won a single game, I think, this season for club and country. That's a wild statistic. That's a wild statistic. At some point, it's not about circumstance. It's not about systems. It's not about tactics. And it's not about the people around you. At some point, it has to be about you. It has to be about the guy in the mirror. The mind boggles as to how this guy keeps getting selected. And it's not even me going in on Harry Maguire, really. It's me going in on Gareth Southgate because at the end of the day, Maguire doesn't pick himself. Luke Shaw doesn't pick himself. Like these players who start for England don't pick themselves. Eric Dyer didn't pick himself. And to be fair to Eric Dyer, he's actually been in good form for Tottenham. Probably the best version of Eric Dyer we've seen in years under Antonio Conte. So it makes sense why Dyer started. We know what John Stones is capable of, and I think he had a good game. Makes sense why he's starting. Reece James, still for me, one of the best right backs in the world. Even when people were going, Trent is the best right back of all time, blah, I always said Reece James is the more complete right back. And for me, he's the best. He's number one. He's the guy. Not just because he won the Champions League, but because of his profile. He does everything. He can defend, he can attack, he's good on the ball. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a complete package, Reece James. So for me, Reece James, John Stones, Eric Dyer, that right-hand side is good enough. You've got Bellingham and Rice to provide the cover in the midfield. Good enough. No excuses. No excuses. So for me, I'm not going to lie to you guys. As I said in my previous video when I spoke about Gareth Southgate, England are sabotaging their chances of winning the World Cup by keeping this man in charge. You are literally shooting yourself in the foot. I genuinely believe that. And people might say, this is harsh, what I'm about to say now. People might say, this is me being a genius in hindsight. This is not me being a genius in hindsight because I've said these things before they even happened. Making the finals of the Euros with England is not an achievement. You guys have a team that's good enough to do that. You should be winning the Euros. That's an achievement. Making the semi-finals of a World Cup with this team is not an achievement. England have some of the best talent in the world. Any elite level manager should be making the semi-finals. Any elite level manager should be getting deep into the competition. The question is, can you win? Can you get over the line? I don't think Southgate can do that. And I think people need to stop pretending like Southgate turned water into wine by making the finals in the Euros. He had one of the strongest squads coming into the tournament. It's no surprise that he was going to make the finals. Like, he should be making the finals is what I'm trying to say. And that's not taking anything away from Gareth Southgate, but what is his excuse for the last 7 games for England? What is his excuse for the worst run of form that England have had in 29 years? Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the worst run of form England have had in 29 years. At least they've scored a goal from open play now. At least they've broken that record, but they still haven't won a game. So this is their worst run of form, factually, in 29 years. And this guy is going to take you into the World Cup. This guy is going to be entrusted with your golden generation. It's wild. It's wild. But knowing how football works, we'll probably see a different version of England come the World Cup. Maybe England will actually turn up. You know how these things work. Anyways, it's been your boy TripleM. Leave a like on the video, comment if you want to, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace.